The line rings. A dispatcher answers. On the other end is someone looking for help. But not every call has an explanation. These are the records from 911 calls that still haunt those who heard them. From the emergency archives, this is Midnight Dispatch. Incident number P058. Date July 9th, 2012. Dispatch log. The following report is compiled from a recorded 911 call, responding deputy statements, and evidence collected at the scene. At 3:48 a.m., a long-haul truck driver contacted emergency services from a truck stop just off Interstate 84. The caller was visibly shaken and repeatedly asked the dispatcher to send someone right now. When asked if anyone was injured, he replied, I don't know. I just need someone to come read what this guy left me. The caller explained that approximately 40 minutes earlier, he had been traveling through a remote section of highway with very little traffic. He described seeing a lone man walking along the shoulder. There were no disabled vehicles, no nearby exits, no houses, just miles of empty highway. The driver initially passed him, but after several minutes, he began thinking about how far the next town was and turned the truck around. He later told deputies, "I figured he was someone's kid. Maybe his car broke down. Maybe he got lost. He looked like he needed help." The man climbed into the passenger seat without saying a word. According to the caller, he appeared to be in his late 30s or early 40s. His clothes were soaked with mud. His boots were caked with wet dirt. His hands were scratched as if he'd been running through thick brush. The driver also reported a strong odor, not alcohol, not gasoline. He described it as like wet dirt and something rotten underneath it. The passenger never offered his name. He never said where he was going. When the driver asked if he was okay, the man simply nodded. For nearly 10 minutes, neither of them spoke. Then the driver began hearing him whisper. At first, he assumed the passenger was talking on a phone, but when he looked over, there was no phone. The man was staring straight ahead, quietly muttering to himself. The driver remembered only fragments. "No. You already took enough. Leave him alone." Several minutes later, "I won't do it." The driver asked who he was talking to. The passenger slowly turned his head. According to the caller, it was the first time he'd made direct eye contact. He said the man's eyes looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. The passenger quietly answered, "I'm trying not to listen." When asked who he meant, he didn't respond. He simply looked back out the windshield and continued whispering under his breath. The driver admitted he considered pulling over and asking the man to get out. Instead, he decided to wait until the next truck stop. At approximately 3:30 a.m., he exited the interstate to refuel. He left the passenger sitting in the truck while he went inside to pay for diesel and grab a cup of coffee. Store surveillance confirmed he remained inside for approximately 3 minutes and 47 seconds. When he returned, the passenger was gone. The passenger side door was opened. Nothing appeared damaged. No footprints were visible around the truck despite the mud covering the passenger's clothing. The caller initially believed the man had wandered off. Then he noticed a folded sheet of notebook paper sitting neatly on the passenger seat. He unfolded it. Written in uneven block letters was a single message. "He kept telling me to kill you. I couldn't bring myself to do it." The driver immediately locked himself inside the truck and called emergency services. Responding deputies searched the truck stop, nearby woods, surrounding fields, and several miles of interstate. No trace of the passenger was ever located. Investigators reviewed surveillance footage from every available camera. The driver is seen parking. He is seen entering the store. He is seen exiting less than 4 minutes later. The passenger was then captured leaving the truck and heading south back towards the highway. Before the case was closed, detectives interviewed the truck driver one final time. When asked why he believed the passenger had disappeared, the driver gave an answer investigators included in the report, but never attempted to verify. He said that just before walking into the gas station, he'd caught the passenger whispering one last sentence. At the time, he couldn't make it out, but after reading the note, he remembered it clearly. I bought you all the time I could." No further evidence was ever recovered. The identity of the hitchhiker remains unknown. The note remains secured in the case file. Current status: unexplained. Incident number: VT0642. Date: May 17, 1978. Dispatch log. The following report was filed by a passenger train conductor after an unusual encounter aboard the final train departing Mill Creek Station. The conductor, whose name has been withheld, reported that the train departed shortly after 11 p.m., with only a handful of passengers on board. The night had been quiet. The passenger cars were nearly empty. Most of the riders were regular commuters who kept to themselves. Approximately 20 minutes into the route, the conductor noticed a young woman sitting alone in the rear passenger car. She was described as wearing a long gray dress, white gloves, and carrying a small black handbag. At first, there was nothing unusual about her, until the conductor noticed she was watching him. He stated in his report that the woman never spoke. She never asked a question. She never requested assistance. She simply stared. The conductor said that every time he entered the passenger car, her eyes followed him. When he walked toward the front of the train, she watched him. When he returned to check tickets, she was still watching him. Even when he turned away and looked back moments later, she was already looking directly at him. The conductor described the feeling as unnerving, stating that it was not the stare of someone waiting for help. It was the stare of someone who already knew him. Near the halfway point of the route, the conductor decided to approach her. He asked if she needed anything. The woman did not respond. She only continued staring. After several seconds, the conductor stepped away to check the remaining passengers. When he returned less than a minute later, the seat was empty. The woman was gone. The conductor immediately searched the passenger car. No one had entered or exited the train. No passenger had seen the woman leave. The incident was initially considered a possible mistake, until the conductor filed a follow-up report the next morning. While discussing the event with railroad supervisors, one employee recognized the description: a woman in a gray dress, white gloves, a black handbag. The same description appeared in an old accident report from 1952. 25 years earlier, a train derailment occurred on the same route near Mill Creek Station. Among the recovered belongings was a photograph taken after the accident. Standing among the wreckage was a young woman wearing a gray dress and white gloves. In her hand was a small black handbag. The woman was never identified. She was not listed among the survivors. She was not listed among the victims. Her name never appeared in any railroad records. The conductor later admitted that the strangest part was not that the woman disappeared. It was something he noticed after seeing the photograph. The woman in the picture was not older. She was not injured. She looked exactly the same as she had on the train that night. Same dress, same gloves, same expression, and the same unsettling stare. The final note in the conductor's report contained only one sentence: "She wasn't looking for a seat. She was waiting for me to notice her." End of file. Incident number 862K. Date: October 8, 2018. Dispatch log. The call came in from a rural highway just outside a small town. A woman reported that she had hit something in the road. When the dispatcher asked what it was, she said she didn't know. She told them she felt the impact, saw something roll into the ditch, and immediately pulled over. The strange part was, there was no damage to her vehicle, no dent, no scratch, nothing. The dispatcher asked her to stay in her car until officers arrived. A few minutes later, the woman whispered that she could see someone standing near the tree line. She said the figure wasn't moving. The dispatcher asked if it was a person. The woman replied, "I can't tell. I think so, but its body is all wrong. Its limbs seem too long for its body, and it looks like it's tall, way too tall to be a person." Then the line went silent. When officers arrived, they found the woman safe inside her vehicle. They searched the area but found no footprints, no injured person, and no sign anything had been hit. But on the front bumper of her car, there was a handprint, a muddy one, and it was much too large to have been made by a human. Incident number T17BT. Date August 21st, 2015. Dispatch log. The call came in from a security guard working the overnight shift at an abandoned hospital scheduled for demolition. The caller sounded nervous but calm enough to speak. He told the dispatcher he had been making his rounds when he heard footsteps coming from the third floor. The problem was, the third floor had been closed for almost 6 months. No electricity, no workers, no reason for anyone to be up there. The dispatcher asked if he was alone. He said yes. He explained that he had checked the building earlier in the night and the upper floors were completely empty. But then he heard it again, slow footsteps, walking across the hallway above him. The dispatcher told him to leave the building if he felt unsafe, but the guard said he needed to confirm nobody had broken in. He climbed the stairs and reached the third floor. That's when the dispatcher heard him stop talking. A few seconds passed, then the guard quietly said, "Someone is in here." The dispatcher asked him what he saw. The guard didn't answer. Instead, he whispered, "There's a room at the end of the hall. I just watched someone walk into it." The dispatcher asked if he could see the person. The guard replied, "No, but I saw their shadow." He slowly approached the room and opened the door. The line went silent. Then the dispatcher heard the sound of the guard backing away. When he finally spoke again, his voice was shaking. He said, "The room is empty, but there's a chair in the middle of the floor." The dispatcher asked what was wrong with the chair. The guard replied, "It's still moving." The call disconnected moments later. Officers arrived and searched the entire building. They found no signs of anyone inside, but in the abandoned room on the third floor, they found a single chair sitting in the center of the room, and carved into the wall behind it were 5 words, "I've been waiting for you." Incident number BE72. Date May 1st, 2006. Dispatch log. The call came in from a woman who said she was home alone and kept hearing someone knocking on her front door. The dispatcher asked if she knew who it was. She said no. She had looked through the window, but nobody was there. The caller started to get scared and told the dispatcher that she was going to hide in her bedroom closet until authorities arrived. The knocking continued. A few moments later, the woman whispered, "I think it stopped." The dispatcher asked if the person had left. The woman didn't answer. Then she said, "No. Wait, I hear knocking again, but now it's coming from inside the house." The dispatcher asked if she was sure no one else was inside the home. She said, "Yes, I'm home alone." The woman started crying. The dispatcher stayed on the line, trying to keep her calm. Then she suddenly whispered, "Wait," a long pause, then, "I think they're walking into my bedroom." The dispatcher told the caller to be as quiet as possible and help was on the way. The woman quietly replied, "I can hear someone breathing on the other side of the door." The call ended moments later. Police arrived and searched the house. They found no signs of forced entry, no footprints, no evidence anyone had been inside. But when they checked the bedroom closet where the woman had been hiding, they found a note written on the wall behind her clothes. It said, "You picked the wrong place to hide." Incident number 104H. Date June 28th, 2022. Dispatch log. The call came in from a man driving home on a back road with no streetlights. He told the dispatcher that a woman in a white dress had stepped into the road, forcing him to slam on his brakes. He stopped and looked around, but the road was empty. The dispatcher asked if she needed help. The man said, "I don't know. She came out of nowhere, and now I don't see her anywhere. I mean, she literally just appeared in front of my car." The dispatcher asked what he meant. The man paused and said, "She was just standing there, like she was waiting for my car to stop." Then he whispered, "She's in my rearview mirror now." The dispatcher told him to stay in his vehicle and lock the doors until police arrive. A few seconds later, the man said, "She's gone." The dispatcher asked if he was sure. He replied, "Wait. How did she get to the front of my car so fast?" The call ended. When police found the vehicle 10 minutes later, the driver was gone. The car was still running, and on the fogged-up inside of the rear windshield were the words, "Don't leave me here." That's all we have for tonight's Midnight Dispatch. Whether it was a glitch in the system, a call that never should have come in, or something we still can't explain, some stories are never truly closed. Stay safe out there, keep your radios close, and we'll be listening when the next call comes through.